in the hospitality. I thought Chairman has asked me to ask the last one. Yes. You know, he's my friend. Yes, so it has to do with the high cost of doing business in the hospitality industry. And I've just cross-checked. If you go to Marriott's hotel in Nigeria, as compared to Ghana here, their rates are better than our rates. Now, we met with stakeholders in the industry, and they are attributing this to multiplicity of taxes and levies, high tariffs in respect of electricity and water, and also a problem of getting credit to be able to expand their businesses. And even when they get it, the cost of borrowing is high. And so that is what is making them uncompetitive. What will you do to ensure that our hospitality industry become competitive so that we are able to attract many more investors? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I believe that I've also heard about the multiplicity of regulations, fees, and levies. And so it's important for us to work with the relevant ministries, departments, and agencies to harmonize those regulations, taxes, and levies so that at least there's some ease of administration. I believe that will go a long way in helping them reduce their cost of doing business. Again, the utilities that you mentioned, I know that coming from the Ministry of Energy, a lot of work has gone into reducing even the bands that business operators were operating in, that then made the usage of electricity more expensive the more your consumption falls within a certain bracket. Thankfully, under the auspices of the Honorable Minister, PURC has worked to reduce the bands to only 2 as we speak. And the intention is to try and get to only 1 band by end of year. So that just like when you go to the filling station and you buy a liter of fuel for a fixed price, every kilowatt hour of electricity that you consume, regardless of the volume that you buy at the filling station, same is replicated in the power space. And we believe that that will also go a long way into reducing their cost. Of course, the credit issue, I'm sure that as the economic fundamentals improve, cost of borrowing then becomes less expensive for the operators. And so we would see how we work together with the other ministries that are involved in the space to create that environment for the businesses that operate in the tourism space to thrive. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and the Deputy Speaker of Parliament. Nominee, congratulations for this, your nomination.
Thank you.
And we're happy to receive you this morning. I have a fundamental question that has to do with an observation made by the Committee of Parliament for the Sector Ministry. Now, the last 2024 Joint Committee report for Trade and Tourism, they made a fundamental observation that 33% of the IGF relating to the Bureau of Ghana Languages was approved for them to retain for the fiscal year 2023. Unfortunately, the observation made was that this 33% retention that was approved by Parliament for the Bureau of Ghana Languages was not given to them by the ministry. And you will know that this Bureau of Languages play a very critical role in our culture, in the development of the Ghanaian languages, and so forth and so on. So if you are given the nod, what are you going to do to ensure that this 33% is increased? Because they made an observation that the 33% is even woefully inadequate. And unfortunately, they didn't even get that 33% that was approved by Parliament. So if you are giving the nod, what are you going to do to ensure that this is reviewed and the right budgetary allocation and retention is given to them for their development? Thank you.
Chairman, this is something that I have to look into because it's my understanding that the IGF is not generated at the ministry. It's generated at the entity or the agency itself. And so how their funds that they've generated ends up with the ministry such that the ministry doesn't release it to them is a little surprising to me, but I have to look into it. But beyond that, the issue of approvals for retention, I'm sure that we are all very much aware of the processes that the Ministry of Finance goes through during the budget approval processes to approve the allocations that are then given to ministries, departments, and agencies. And so if a case is made that the retention percentage is low, it is possible for them to review it. And so I'll look into it, and then if the management convinces me that this is something that has to be increased, then we can then make the case, obviously, if I'm giving the nod to the Ministry of Finance to look at increasing the percentage so they can retain more of the IGF to run the operations. Thank you.
Honorable, kindly let me do a follow-up on this one. Honorable Minister, when we say retain, how does it happen that you have to send it to a ministry before you go and ask for it?
Mr. Chairman, that's why I said that is surprising to me, because I have the same understanding as you have, that if the agency generates the money, then it retains the percentage that has been approved for it. But my understanding from the question was that in this case, the funds ended up in the ministry and the ministry failed to release it to them. So I have to look into it to ascertain why it is that that situation arose in the first place. Thank you.
Well, I actually know that that's why I raise it here. We members of Parliament have approved a regulation which says retains means send it to the ministry and request for it. I don't know what it means.
No, I didn't.
Right, Honorable Chairman, you are 100% right. The retention should have been kept at the agency, but usually they pay it into the consolidated fund. Then now they will struggle with the Minister of Finance to get their releases. And it's pervasive. It cuts across everywhere. But my second question has to do, I'm sure the nominee would have averted his mind to the budgetary allocations for 2024. Now you realize that we have about 5 items, and what is surprising, which was raised at the committee level, was the tourism product development. In 2023, an amount of 102 million, about that, was allocated for tourism product development. And that has to do with spreading out the products to other regions, other communities, and things like that, which is very important. And unfortunately, this year, this product development was reduced from 102 million to about 13 million, which speaks volumes. Because the implication is that you will not be able to spread and take advantage of other tourism sites that requires your attention. So if you are given the nod, with this restriction that has been given to you by the minister and by Parliament, because it has been approved by Parliament, what are you going to do to spread tourism to other regions and other constituencies that require your attention? I am saying this with special reference to the Gambaga scab. It's been hanging for a while. You know, the Nigerian wall has been hanging for a while in my constituency. You know, at the committee level, we have raised several of such.
Honorable, your commentary should wait when you get on the floor.
So, Mr. Minister, nominee, can you tell us what you are going to do to address this challenge?
Mr. Chairman, I need to look at the detailed budget that was approved for the various components that the member refers to. But looking at the budget approvals that were, or allocations that were made for the ministry over the past 4 years, I observed that year on year their budgets are increased generally. And to my surprise, for the tourism ministry, their releases were almost equal to the allocations that were made for them on a year-by-year basis from 2021. I know that most ministries do not enjoy that kind of level of releases. And so I was pleasantly surprised that indeed the Ministry of Tourism gets all the allocations that are made for them during the year. But we'll look into it. I'm sure that there was some basis. It's entirely possible that in 2023, there were some specific projects or programs that the ministry had earmarked to embark on, for which resources were allocated for them, which is not being repeated this year. But like I said, I need to look at the detail together with the officials of the ministry to make a determination as to why, and of course, within the constraints of the approvals, see what it is that can be done to implement the programs that have been approved for the year. Thank you.
My last question. Thank you, Honorable Chairman. Nominee, and you realize that this particular budgetary allocation, I understand that you have not looked at it, but I'm just giving you information. I have the committee report here, and I'm speaking to the figures. Now, this budgetary allocation given to you is going to give you a lot of challenges as far as maybe your personal plan and the plan of the ministry to spread tourism to the corners of our nation is concerned. You are going to have a challenge. But I want to find out, will you look at leveraging with the trade ministry to take advantage of the 1D, 1F to spread tourism product development to other communities that you would have want to, but due to budgetary constraints? Will you want to look at that linkage between your ministry and the trade ministry to take advantage of 1D, 1F to spread tourism development? Thank you.
Chairman, it's not something that I've vetted my mind to, but obviously if it's a suggestion that is coming from honorable member, it's something that I'll be happy to look into to see whether we can leverage on any relationship or collaboration with any ministry to ensure that we are able to develop our tourism to the next level. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Egyapa Mercer, congratulations.
Thank you.
May I ask, how are you going to use your experiences to promote the creative industry in our country, to reduce the number of legal battles and others that they go through? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Of course, as a trained lawyer, I believe that one of the skills that I have is to help in dispute resolution. And so if there are disputes within the sector, especially in the creative art space, then I'm sure that my 20 years experience at the bar will come in handy to help me resolve some of those issues amicably. Thank you.
Now, leadership. You are not a member of the committee, are you?
This week is International Women's Day.
Please. Sorry.
Thank you, Chairman. Honorable Egyapa Mercer, congratulations.
Thank you, my brother.
Your CV is a 10-page document, and I notice almost 4 pages is on conferences and capacity programs you attended. Is there any reason why you spend 40% of, you want to tell us about yourself, and 40% is conferences and capacity building you attended?
Mr. Chairman, I'm not so sure the pages necessarily represent a certain percentage of my life. Within the, of course, I mean, we all know the value of capacity building and conferences that then helps you apprise yourself of best international practices that then you deploy to your work. The sector that I've worked in over the past 4 years is one that required that we engage in that kind of activity. Of course, I partook in some capacity building activities prior to that role, and to give a comprehensive outlook of all the work that I've done, all the conferences that I've attended. That's why you see the number. But I believe that if you look thoroughly at the conferences that I've attended, enriching my work and output whilst assisting my minister at the role. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Mercer. Of course, until recently you were a deputy minister. You are now appointed as a substantive minister. Obviously, it means the president found your capacity to be on your own. That is why he appointed you as a substantive minister, though at a different ministry. In an answer to one of the questions relating to the National Cathedral, you suggested that the country needed to continue funding the National Cathedral. With the myriad of problems you find or you are told about the tourism ministry, when you are given the nod, will you be confident enough to walk to Parliament with a budget, with a line in it, to fund the construction of the cathedral, vis-a-vis all the problems that you are already aware that bother the growth of tourism in our country?
Mr. Chairman, I don't know whether it's fortunate or unfortunate, but I have only 9 or so months at the Ministry of Tourism, and I'm not sure that I've had opportunity to present a budget for consideration and approval by Parliament. Thank you.
Well, there will be a mid-year budget review. We have a new finance minister. He may be more responsive to you, and you are also a new minister. So there's a potential that you may have the opportunity to prioritize what would grow tourism in Ghana. My question is, will you be confident that if you get the opportunity, at the top of your priority will be to ask your colleagues in Parliament to fund the construction of a cathedral versus other requirements?
Mr. Chairman, I believe that they are not mutually exclusive. Of course, you do not have unlimited resources, but some funding has gone in there. And I'm not so sure whether the jest, that is the world's most expensive hole, is palatable to anybody. There's a national asset that is in that state, and it has to be completed, to my mind. And so if you want a definitive answer that if I have the opportunity to request Parliament to consider and approve a budget for the completion of the National Cathedral, then yes.
We'll leave that one there. I would just suggest to you that there are many issues about the National Cathedral. I'm an architect by training. One of the issues about the cathedral was that at the time the consultant was appointed, he was not qualified to practice by himself in Ghana. You are a lawyer. I will encourage you to look into those things and see if it's possible. Be brave and launch an investigation into the circumstances surrounding the award of contract both to the contractor and the consultant of the National Cathedral. That is just by the way. I have here a document produced by the UNDP. I can table it for Chairman to. The title is Rethinking Tourism as a Pathway for Development. It was authored in September 27th, 2022. There's an interesting rendition on page 2, and that says tourism development to transform economies. In the first paragraph, there's a writing that suggests that, let me read. For many, tourism still conjures pictures, for many tourists, for many, they conjure pictures of foreigners enjoying exotic destinations far removed from ordinary citizens. Local communities who are custodians of natural wealth and culture have failed to benefit from this kind of tourism. When you go the further, it says that it shows that the current tourism model is not suitable. If you read further, they are saying that we should focus on the Ghanaian experiencing the tourist attractions in their country. In fact, if you check many countries, developed countries, their domestic tourism numbers surpass the people from foreign destinations. You and I are aware that maybe, I don't know much about Western region. You probably don't know much about Volta region, though we are friends and we are in the same country. Don't you think that with COVID and everything that have taught us a lesson to try to utilize what we have, the way to grow tourism is to encourage intra-tourism, where people in Boku should be interested in finding out what is at Kakum, what people in Keta should be trying to find out what is at, what do you call it, in Kumasi, to drive the system instead of always thinking that we only do tourism when a new aircraft arrives at Kumasi, at Kutuka. Don't you think that this report is something worth looking at as the new minister?
Chairman, indeed, it is. And I'm aware that the Ministry of Tourism and the Ghana Tourism Authority itself is focusing on promoting domestic tourism. And so this month, for example, has been declared Ghana Month, where the tagline is to see Ghana, eat Ghana, wear Ghana, and feel Ghana. And so you can see that I came in here in my Ghanaian cloth. Okay,
which one is a Ghanaian cloth? The shirt you're wearing is Ghanaian cloth. The Ghanaian cloth is the one being worn by your elegant chiefs behind you. All the rest are
very well, Chairman, duly noted. And so there are tourism promotion for domestic tourism that is already ongoing. But of course, there's always room for more. And so, yes, I know that the ministry and the Ghana Tourism Authority is collaborating with City FM, for example, on the Heritage Carnival. And 180 people are touring the whole of Ghana, okay, in the month of end February through to March, ending sometime on the 10th through Takrady to Accra. But like I said, a lot more has to be done. And if you give me the nod, it will be something that I will work to deepen to ensure that many more Ghanaians explore our country to complement what it is that we get from foreign visitors. Thank you.
Thank you. I will also suggest that maybe you work with the Ministry of Education. When we were a bit younger, I know one of the fascinating things we look forward to was that excursion. They used to call it excursion, where students from one school would go to another region for something. So I'm sure that working with the Ministry of Education, that can also add to whatever plans you have. My last question, Chairman, is this. If you read the report I quoted from, they also highlighted the potential of what tourism can do to damage our culture. And one of the things they highlighted was that while tourists come here, many of them things they couldn't do in their country when they are far away from their environments where somebody knows them in terms of their lifestyle
That is what they bring to these countries. And unfortunately, young people portray these as the new things they should do. And some of these things can damage their culture. Our culture, inherent culture. What will you do to ensure that whilst we promote tourists from abroad, their activities do not, actually contaminate our culture to the extent that young people particularly become very unaware that some of those things are not necessarily helpful to the preservation of our culture?
Chairman, I believe that if we promote positivity, then people who tend to visit us then are likely to reflect that as opposed to some negativity. Because I've had cause to complain about the tagline, Dirty December. I don't think that speaks well of our country to be promoted with that kind of tagline. December in Ghana is a good enough description. And so I believe that that positive projection of our country as opposed to negativity would obviously impact the kind of behavior that people who come in here come and exhibit. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely.
Right. Thank you, Honorable Chair. I also want to add my voice to, yes.
By the way, I always enjoy that fanti and thing when I come to Takrady. You know about it, isn't it? You know about it, isn't it?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I do. You're always welcome.
You should promote that as cultural tourism. Go to second day for fanti. You can also promote that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I also want to add my voice to congratulate you for your nomination as the Minister for Tourism. Honorable Nominee, I'd like to find out from you what you envisage to be the impact on our tourism should the government assent to the LGBTQ bill. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, that's a difficult one. Because, our culture is our culture, ultimately. And so, if people want to experience our culture, it really shouldn't matter whether we are opposed to a certain lifestyle within our cultural setting. But it all comes down to how you promote Ghana and position ourselves within the law, that is, if His Excellency the President assents to it. Okay, so I know it's the most topical subject matter now. Indeed, yesterday I was having conversations with my brother and some friends of mine at home, and it came up what your response would be when this question is posed to you. But I still haven't figured out an answer. But all I can say is that it definitely will have an impact, one way or the other. Some people who believe that lifestyle should be allowed everywhere may find Ghana not an attractive place. Some people who believe in our culture would find Ghana an attractive place. And so it all comes down to how you market Ghana and what it is that we offer to the world. The listing that we have, that we are encouraging people to visit our country as opposed to others. And of course, like my good friend, Chief Whip on the minority side indicated, if you promote domestic tourism, that then helps you to deal with whatever shortfalls or issues that may arise from some lack of interest because of this law. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much. Honorable Minister, In my region, that is the Ashanti region, one of the tourist attractions in the Ashanti region, I would say, is funerals. Funerals are one of the tourist attractions, and there are other cultural needs. You look at even cater weaving and everything. I'd like to find out from you whether you have the idea of how roads, because people will have to assess it, have been developed in these areas. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, in my engagements with officials of the ministry in preparation for the vetting, I was made to understand that there's already an existing program that the ministry is working with Ministry of Roads to develop last mile roads into some of our tourist enclaves that presently is difficult to find. And so when I'm giving the nod, that will be something that I'll follow up to ensure that at least the agreed kilometer, I believe in the region of some 50 kilometers per year, is pursued so that we can improve access to our tourist sites across the country. Thank you.
My last question, Honorable. How will you ensure that these ministry programs and policies are evidence-based and effective in addressing gender and social protection issues, if given the nod? Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I believe that most of the things that have already been done is evident for all to see. Kwame Nkrumah Memorial Park rehabilitation, we all can see it. The year of return, we all saw it. The Beyond the Return program, which is anchored on some 7 pillars that the ministry is rolling out, is extremely evident. Indeed, I'm aware that over the COVID period, when arising out of the COVID impacted businesses negatively, the government provided some funding support, 50% of which was given to women. And that clearly demonstrates what it is that we have already been doing in gender mainstreaming to ensure that they are not left out. Thank you.
Yes, Deputy Leader.
Congratulations, my brother.
Thank you, my brother.
Disclose that you are my brother from the Western region. I see that Nana Kobnan Ketia, Nana Kusia Jiman, and Naula Atibrukusu, very prominent revered chiefs from our region, all here. And I know the reason they are here. The Western region has really had cause to worry that we have not had a cabinet minister in President Akufo-Addo's government. And this has been a matter of worry. I know it has been publicly expressed, especially when the Honorable Kojokun was taken out. So this is important. I'm not even sure that the Minister of Tourism is still a cabinet minister, but at least we are celebrating your appointment. And so I'm very happy to see the chiefs. But let me go back. Yes, and let me tell you that the minority leader is also a Western boy, a secondary boy. In fact, you are his MP.
Chairman, I know that.
You know that?
Yes.
Well, let me take you back. You've been in the energy sector for the last 3 years under the tutelage of Honorable Prempe, and I'm sure he has taken his time to guide you. I'm sure you live with a lot of experiences and reflections. Now, I think I'll start with that. Give us your reflections on the energy sector and, in your view, what you think must be done to keep the light on.
Mr. Chairman, indeed, I can say without any fear of contradiction that I've had the benefit of working under an excellent minister who gave me all the opportunity to, as it were, develop his guidance and support over the past 3.5 years has been very. I live with a lot of nostalgia, and we had when my appointment came to go and work with him, he said to me that we're going to have a good time, and we indeed had a good time. It was work, and I think that his mandate really to keep the light on, keep the nation moving, is something that we have all experienced. Yes, there are issues, challenges in the energy sector. ECG's performance has not been optimal, and so the revenues that would have ordinarily been the source of paying everybody within the value chain has always been an issue. And my minister has worked tirelessly to ensure that, in collaboration with the Ministry of Finance, the lights have been kept on. I do not recall any time within the 3.5 period that we've been at the ministry where there's been queues at any of the filling stations. We've kept the nation moving. We've worked tirelessly in the upstream space to ensure that our hydrocarbon reserves are increased. We've worked tirelessly to ensure that Ghanaian content and Ghanaian participation is increased. We've worked tirelessly to put together our energy transition document, which is guiding our policy framework going forward to achieving net zero by 2060. And so it's been an exciting period, but I guess that it's time to go on to new challenges, and with your support and approval, whatever experiences that
and leave you with the
minister.
So you mentioned ECG. Every time we talk about ECG and money, what we fail to talk about is that the people of Ghana are paying levies to the tune of 7 billion every year. What ECG collects is roughly about 1 billion. But that 7 billion in the form of energy sector levies in fuels and electricity being paid by the people of Ghana is going to the Minister of Finance. And the management of it is not transparent. And it has always been the reason why we still have challenges with money in the energy sector. Please. This is the former energy minister who has been there for 3 years. I know it's a concern, and I'm speaking for you. If I had my way, they will allow the energy minister to manage the ESLA funds directly. So I want you to comment on that. How ESLA funds has not been transparent in the management of the sector.
Mr. Chairman, I'm not so sure whether ESLA funds have not been managed transparently, because every year the report is submitted to Parliament in accordance with law, and whatever the revenues that have come in and the expenditure that has been expended out of that is reported to Parliament. There's always a debate on it. A report of the committee is adopted by the House. Yes, you make reference of ESLA proceeds that go into the ESLA fund, but then again, the Ministry of Finance pays for the commodity price of Jubilee and 10, and now Sankofa, Jubilee and 10 post foundation. All that is money that is coming from the ESLA, and so I'm not so sure whether the attribution that is being mismanaged is entirely correct. Thank you.
You know that we are still stuck with 3 producing fields, and even though a lot of work is being done, we have not actually added a major producing field, and we are stuck with this producing field, which production has really gone close to 50%. I know it's a cause for concern. What are the reasons why the investors are not coming?
Chairman, I'm sure that you're very much aware that prior to the Russian war, major OECD countries had taken a decision to move away from oil and gas exploration financing. And so that itself impacted investments in oil and gas across the world. Post or during the war, it became apparent that energy security was also critical as opposed to energy transition. And so the refocus in oil and gas exploration has started again. Of course, the Jubilee Southeast project that was done added 30,000 barrels of oil to our daily production, and that's significant. We've approved, under the leadership of the minister, the ACA, now PECAN plan of development, and we expect that it will reach FID by June of this year. And see some.
That's not a new production, it's just an expansion of the Greater Jubilee. Is that correct?
There's a new development within the Jubilee field, and that in itself is an addition to the field. Increase our reserves to about 160,000 barrels per day today. And obviously, its significance cannot be overlooked. And so, as I was saying, with the new excitement about energy security, I believe that we still have some investment opportunities that will come up to ensure that we do not have stranded assets in our hydrocarbon space. Thank you.
Very much. Let me take you quickly to your new sector. Scores of tourists have expressed concern over the poor condition of most of our beaches in the country, as often they are confronted with heaps of rubbish washed ashore most of the time. The tourists, and I'm quoting the Ghana News Agency, during the tour of some of the beaches, including Labadi, Sakumono, and others, that these beaches need cleaning, and they call the Ghana Tourist Board, authority actually, to do more to clean our beaches, because that really will help promote tourism. Can you tell us if that is a concern and what steps you are going to take?
Chairman, obviously it's a concern, and my understanding is that there's been some, especially with the Labadi and some other communities, some raging dispute between some youth groups and operators of the beach from the government of Ghana side. And so the revenues that they generate from there is not channeled through the right channels to ensure that some are used to clean these beaches. And I'm told that there's been some resolution in sight, and I would pursue it to ensure that that is concluded, so that the requisite investment that then goes into cleaning the beaches are made available to ensure our beaches are clean. Thank you.
I think this question has been asked, but I want to broaden it a little bit. The World Bank identifies strategic areas of tourism development in Ghana, including diversifying tourism products. And they look at 3 areas: promoting domestic tourism. What initiative will you have to encourage Ghanaians to explore? That has been asked. Diversifying tourism products. How will you promote and develop other areas of tourism, such as ecotourism, cultural tourism, and historic tourism? And then leveraging cultural heritage. How will you utilize Ghana's rich cultural heritage to promote tourism? These broadly is what will take us there, and with the sleeping giant of tourism that I believe is really a sleeping giant.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, you're right. Usually, when you hear tourism, the focus really is on tourism, if you like, without recourse to the creative arts sector and the culture. Okay, and so it is packaging the cultural heritage that then enables you to promote and market to ensure that people then come in to have an experience. And so I know that the Ghana Tourism Development Company, together with the National Commission for Culture, are all working on programs that then will help in boosting visitor, turnover in Ghana. The National Film Authority is working to set Ghana as a production hub. They're working on some tax incentive regime that then would encourage production of movies and all that. And all these, when they are concretized, will then improve our visitor turnover. And these are issues that I will focus on when you give me the nod to ensure that we increase our tourist turnover here in Ghana. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you,
Yes, Honorable Ranking Member.
Bobo. Good morning.
Leader, morning.
Your name, Andrew Egyapa Mercer. Egyapa, do you have any relationship with the Egyapa royalties?
Mr. Chairman, my recollection is that Egyapa royalties was incorporated pursuant to an act of Parliament of the Republic, which then set up the Minerals Income Investment Fund Act. Egyapa royalties is wholly owned by the government of Ghana. It can never have any connection to my Egyapa now that my father, the late James Mercer, named me after. Thank you.
Can I refer you to your CV, please? If you have a copy of your CV. Let me start from page 7 and 8 of your CV. Conferences, capacity building programs attended. 2023. I note that 2023, out of 12 months, you traveled abroad 8 times. 8 times. Between November to June, it looks as if you live at the airport. Can you explain who funded these programs?
Mr. Chairman, I wouldn't know who funded those trips because I'm delegated by my minister to attend some of these conferences on his behalf. And so I go on the marching orders of my boss. Thank you.
And you don't know who paid for your ticket?
But I don't have any idea as to who paid because...
And you did not sign for per diem?
Mr. Chairman, I'm not sure whether the per diem will indicate who is paid.
Honorable Bobo. Bobo is his name. Bobo.
Is that a correct
That's
name?
how native secondary citizens call him. I'm a native, so I call him Bobo. Bobo. That's his name. So, Bobo, let me refer you to the same page 7. Leadership position held directorship in several corporate organizations. Directorship in several corporate organizations. Can you list some of them?
Mr. Chairman, obviously, at present, I'm not a director in any entity.
But can you list some of them?
I can't.
You can't?
I can.
Can you please give us some names?
I served as a director of Zoom Lion Ghana Limited. I've been a director at Mercer & Co. I've been a director, I believe, at Streamline Resources. I was a director at TG Energy Resources Ghana Limited. J Plant Pool Ghana Limited, I served as director there as well. These are the ones that come to mind. Of course, Mercer & Co., the law firm that I founded as well, I was a director on it as well. Yes.
So you served as a director of the famous TG Energy. And you are aware of the TG Energy's relationship on PDS?
Yes, I am.
Did you play any role in the PDS arrangement?
Chairman, I believe that when I appeared before this committee 3.5 years ago, this matter came up, and I was categorical that even though I was a director on one of the consortium companies that formed PDS, I played no role whatsoever in PDS arrangement.
So at the Ministry of at the Ministry of Energy, obviously as a deputy minister, did you play any role in resolving the PDL's fiasco?
No fiasco has come to my attention relating to any entity, PDS or otherwise, that will require my contribution in resolving.
Are you aware of the PDS issues?
I'm not aware.
As a deputy minister responsible for energy, are you telling the people of Ghana that you are not aware of what has gone on PDS?
I'm not aware because I'm sure you're very much aware of the functions of the deputy minister to assist the minister, and so is the function that the minister gives you that you work on. I haven't worked on any matter related to PDS in the past 3.5 years.
Your minister is saying he has never given you any PDS job.
He's right.
I will take that as an answer, and I'll hold him responsible in future. But let me ask you once again. Are you worried that Ghana lost millions of US dollars on the back of the PDS issues? Are you worried at all?
I am not aware of any losses that Ghana made in respect of the PDS transaction.
Are you aware?
I worked on it, so I wouldn't know.
Let me come back again on this matter. Are you aware that the US government, through the Millennium Challenge account, decided to withdraw the millions of US dollars they pledged to support the ECG in dealing with energy issues? And this amount was withheld as a result of the PDS issues.
I read it in the newspapers.
And were you worried about it?
Mr. Chairman, obviously, if the transaction had gone on or the conditions had been met, then government of Ghana, through the the Millennium Compact, would have received that money per the reports that I read to help improve the sector. But the reports that I read also indicated that some conditions were not met, and so government terminated the transaction.
Your predecessor, for the immediate past minister responsible for tourism, is on record to have said that he's going to leverage on funerals funerals to boost local tourism. Do you share in his vision?
Mr. Chairman, I'm not so sure whether mourning your beloved ones necessarily can translate to a tourist attraction. I'm not so sure.
No, can you take that again, please?
So I'm not so sure whether mourning your beloved one can be turned into a tourist attraction. But of course, the ceremony itself has some cultural significance that may be interesting to some people who are desirous of learning our culture when it comes to funeral. But I don't know whether that can in itself be marketed for people to come and visit and attend funerals by way of tourism. I'm not so sure. Thank you.
What is your own vision for the new sector you are going in? Briefly, can you explain to us your own vision?
Mr. Chairman, I see my role as really promoting Ghana amongst all the 196 or so countries across the world and urging people to choose Ghana over and above every other country. And so I think that my vision for the ministry is to see a ministry that promotes Ghana, puts Ghana's promotion at the forefront, harness all our talents in the creative industry space and our cultural heritage and promote it to the best of my ability. Thank you.
Honorable Egyapa Mercer, your own view. Do you think the passage of the anti-LGBTQP++ bill will affect the sector that you are going?
Mr. Chairman, I believe I answered this question earlier. The Deputy Majority Leader posed the question, and I said that yes, it is likely that it may impact Ghana's attractiveness to some segment of people who feel strongly about the law and its passage. It may also inure to our benefit as well for people who feel strongly that the passage of the law is right. So it cuts both ways. There will be some wins, there will be some losses. That will be my own position on the passage of the law. Thank you.
If the president calls on you to advise, how will you advise him? As a sector minister, if the president calls on you to advise him before he takes a decision as to whether he should sign or not to sign, what will you say?
I would ask him to weigh both sides. But obviously, Mr. Chairman, the president is operating within a certain constitutional construct. And I would expect that he would follow the Constitution and arrive at a decision that the law enjoins him to arrive at. Thank you.
Yesterday, your colleague at the Ministry of Finance advised the president based on fiscal impact analysis and advised the president not to sign. Obviously, as the minister responsible for tourism designate, granted that you'll be passed, and the president calls upon you as minister that you are not only a minister responsible for tourism but culture. So you have tourism and culture, and the two of them, you are the minister. He will certainly have to call on you to advise. What will you say, my brother?
Mr. Chairman, like I indicated earlier, there are pros and cons to every decision. And that's exactly what I'm going to, if you graciously approve me, and His Excellency the President makes a call on me to advise, that will be exactly what I will tell him. Thank you.
I know you are struggling, but what you get there, I'm sure you write a memo. You write a memo. But before I conclude, let me ask you, do you share in the vision of your flag bearer, the Vice President and the flag bearer of the NPP? Do you share in the vision, in his vision?
As he articulated at UPSA.
Correct.
Without a doubt, 100%. Thank you.
He said, as you rightly pointed out at the UPSA, that he, if given the opportunity, he's going to reduce the size of his government as president to 50 ministers. Do you share in that?
I said I share in his vision 100%. If I could go higher, I probably would. But yes, I share in his vision. Thank you.
Do you know the size of the current government?
Of His Excellency Nana Danko Akufo?
Yes. The size of ministerial appointees.
I think it's about 83 or so. Yes.
And you are one of them?
Yes.
And you share in the 50 ministers rule?
Mr. Chairman, I believe that being nominated or appointed is only a privilege to serve. It cannot be that one will remain a minister perpetually. And so if the Vice President, by the grace of God, he becomes president on the 7th of January, and he decides that I'm not part of his government, I will thank him and go and practice my law. Thank you.
Will you consider resigning? Will you consider resigning and to make effect to the Vice President vision?
The Vice President's vision, Mr. Chairman, he has indicated that when he becomes president, His Excellency Nana Danko Akufo-Addo is the president today. And so I don't think that resigning would necessarily go to advance the vision of His Excellency the Vice President when he becomes president. Thank you.
So how will you convince me, as a firm believer of my flag bearer's position that ministers should not exceed 60, to vote to increase the size of ministers to 83? How will you convince me to vote for you today if you also share the same vision? Why 2025 and not now?
Mr. Chairman, I believe that when the Constitution gives the President the room to choose or appoint ministers and deputy ministers to assist him in executing his vision, that's exactly what it is. And so His Excellency the President Nana Danko Akufo-Addo's indication to Parliament is that these are the numbers of people that he needs to execute his vision. And so we have to support him to execute his vision. And so I would urge you to approve me so I go and assist the President in executing his vision. In the future, when a new president comes and feels that he can do it with less numbers, we would support him to execute his vision at that point as well. Thank you.
Obviously, there was the need to get the people of Western Region a cabinet minister, because for the entire second term of President Akufo-Addo, 3 years, 2 months, the people of Western Region does not have a representative in the cabinet of President Akufo-Addo and Alhaji Bawumia. So obviously there's the need. But you need to explain to me. And you've done something, so I'll hold it there. But let me finally make this point. Honorable Bobo, Honorable Bobo. I now understand the reason why you said you had a good time with the minister. And the minister said you had a good time. You have a good time. You had a good time indeed. I've counted the number of travels, and it's amazing. Good time. Good time. On your conferences.
Mr. Chairman.
No wonder you are going to tourism. I don't know if the minister said you've had a good time.
Mr. Chairman, on the contrary, I don't think that traveling necessarily is a good time. Because I have a 11-year-old, a 9-year-old, and a 12-year-old that I would love to spend more time with them than I have the opportunity to. So it really the good time that my minister indicated we're going to have is related to work.
Is your wife behind you?
Yes.
Okay, now I understand why you're telling us.
Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chairman, I will end here. Thank you.
Honorable Nominee, I'm interested in the funeral bit of tourism which people appear to downplay. Have you had the opportunity to look at the data or the throughput of hotels in the Akan enclave? Have you by chance look at the throughput, the rate of lodgings in the hotels in the Akan enclave?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Does it show any pattern over the weekends?
Yes, it does. Occupancy rate definitely increases over the weekend.
And have you spoken with your tourism authority what their findings are about when funerals, someone they call big funerals, and the relation to hotel occupancy?
Chairman, not yet, but of course I live in this country, and I know that our culture expects us to commiserate with our friends and family, colleagues when they are bereaved, and so we all travel once upon a time weekends to attend funerals in one part of the country or the other. Thank you.
Well, if you ask me, for those of us in the Akan areas, the only time family members contribute for anything, bear every cost together, is when they are funerals. So for me, when we're talking tourism, I recommend to you that you look at funeral tourism and encourage investment in that. Probably if you ask the airlines, they can also tell you over weekends when there are funerals. Last Friday, I struggled to get a flight to Kumasi. Morning to night, all of them were full. Friday to Monday, because there was a funeral, a big funeral at Drabing. So when people poo-poo it, I'm surprised.
As a believer of the funeral,
it's a big funeral business. It's a big business. It's the only time you won't make losses because everybody will pay. The cost is borne by the entire community, and I have a small investment in funeral business. And I'm telling you, I'm telling you, if you go to many of the small communities, the only reasons hotels, guest houses have sprung up there are because of funerals. If you take away funerals, there will be no hotels and those other businesses, the events businesses. Funerals are the ones that are holding them. So I urge you to look at that, see how you can leverage on that to attach other activities to that. Anytime there are big businesses, big funerals, clubs, pubs, other entertainment, restaurants are all full, and they are all within this area. So I urge you to look at that and
encourage more people to invest in those areas rather than people closing streets to conduct funerals. Urge people to take places, create beautiful parks, and rent them out for funerals. And I'm sure it's a good area for investment. I wish you well.
Thank you, Chairman. Well noted.
Thank you for taking upon the House to answer questions. We will discharge you for now. You will hear from us.
Thank you, Chairman.
There are a few people I must acknowledge. I've been giving a long list, but by our rules, you are permitted only 5 visitors. So I'll acknowledge only 5. Egyapa Mercer Abuaje, she's the Mrs. of the nominee. Mrs., we thank you for. Is your sister? So where's Mrs. in the list? So Jemima is the sister. You're welcome. Awolai Ati Brukusu, the chairman of the regional foundation, the Nominee of Lower Axim. Nana, you're welcome. Nana Kusiajiman, the 9th, the Nominee of Lower Disco. Nana, you're welcome. Nana Kobranketia of Isigado. Nana, you're welcome. What's the name of Mrs.? Mrs. Carleen Mercer. Okay, great, you're welcome. Okay. All other persons, we thank you for attending upon the House. Yeah. Mr. Obeneji is a member of Parliament, so he doesn't know. We thank you for attending upon the House. Senior public servants who are here. I've seen the tourism authorities and other people I know. We thank you for attending upon the House to support the nominee. You hear from us. Thank you. Mr. Mercer, you're discharged.